Uh, the year has been starting off really, really great for me, man. I just want to tell everybody thank you for being patient. Us and Revolt was off for a few weeks. Last show was great. I wasn't in the studio. I was on location in Miami. I just want to tell the whole audience and everybody who fucks with us, thank you so much. Larry, you know, it's been chilly in a lot of studios lately, so I got my, pardon me, if I got my hat, my coat on, I was just making sure they had the temperature right in this.
Fire chaos, meltdown, betrayal. Fire, you are not going to believe what just happened between Harlem's most iconic trio, because the streets are buzzing and the energy is violent. Mase and Camron, they just went ballistic. Why? Because Jim Jones, their former Dipset brother turned business mogul, has just been exposed for running a multi-million-dollar facility that went into complete disaster mode. And now, bodies are freezing, equipment is fried, and Mase is claiming criminal negligence while Camron says he's ready to pull up and shut it down. This ain't a rap beef. This is a full-blown scandal involving failed power systems, frozen contracts, and explosive phone calls that got so intense. Insiders say Jones had to be restrained by his own security. But here's where it gets insane, because leaked footage shows electrical fires, melted panels, and whole freezer sections dead silent, leaving millions in unreleased merch, VIP archives, and according to one source, evidence of a secret artist deal gone wrong. Oh, and the cherry on top? Jones tried to blame the city, until Mase pulled up with receipts, including inspection reports, audio leaks from a former facility manager, and an email thread where someone literally wrote, "If we don't fix this before the snowstorm, it's gonna be a disaster." Too late, disaster struck. And now, lawsuits are looming, friendships are on the line, and Harlem might never be the same again. What you're about to witness isn't just business beef. It's the implosion of a dynasty, the unraveling of trust, and maybe the final chapter in the Dipset legacy. Because Camron and Mase, they just went to war. Before the freezing temperatures, before the electrical fires, before the shouting matches and security pulling bodies apart, there was brotherhood. Mase, Camron, Jim Jones, they weren't just rappers, they were Harlem royalty. Architects of a movement that made pink furs, bandanas, and unapologetic swagger a global sensation. The Diplomats, Dipset. At one point, their bond looked unbreakable, but behind the scenes, tension had been boiling for years. Let's rewind the tape. Mase and Camron go all the way back to childhood, running through the streets of Harlem together before the fame, the chains, the plaques. They were thick as thieves, literally and figuratively. Then came rap, and with it, the divide. Camron skyrocketed into fame. Mase joined Bad Boy and became a megastar overnight. But the more they rose, the more Harlem whispered that jealousy, power, and women were tearing them apart behind the scenes. Then enters Jim Jones, the wild card, the enforcer. The hype man turned businessman. He was Cam's muscle and Mace's annoyance. But when Dipset formed, they clicked for a while. The early 2000s were magic, hit after hit. Mixtape dominance. New York belonged to them. But under the surface, Cam and Mace's old wounds never truly healed. And Jim? He was climbing his own ladder, building an empire while acting like the glue, yet slowly becoming the wedge. Fast forward to the 2010s. Mase had stepped away from the game, diving into ministry and self-reflection. Cam was juggling music and media. Jim? He was moving in silence, launching businesses, real estate investments, and most recently, the Freeze facility. Located on the edge of Harlem, the Freeze facility was supposed to be a cutting-edge storage hub. Part fashion warehouse, part music archive, part luxury business front. The rumors were wild. Rare Dipset jackets frozen in glass vaults. Master recordings stored in climate-controlled safes. Designer collabs stashed away for secret releases. But it wasn't just about business. For Jim, this was a legacy project. A way to solidify his status as more than just the third man in Dipset. It was meant to show he was the mogul, the visionary, the one who turned the street hustle into generational wealth. Camron co-signed it publicly, even showing up at the ribbon cutting with Mase in tow, smiling for the cameras. But insiders say something felt off that day. Mase, barely smiling, stayed for under 30 minutes. Cam, according to a backstage witness, whispered to his cousin, "This joint feel cold in more ways than one." At first, things went smoothly. Celebrities toured the facility, fashion drops were teased. Jim began calling it the Ice House of Influence. But while the outside world saw glossy Instagram stories and rapper endorsements, the inside was a time bomb. According to 3 former employees who have now started speaking out, there were problems from day one. Electrical wiring was rushed. Thermometer temperature systems would glitch. Snowflake, one entire cooling unit broke during a surprise inspection, but was allegedly covered up. And worst of all, there was no real emergency plan in place. The cracks were growing, but Jim, ever the hustler, pushed forward. Sources say he ignored repeated warnings from contractors and even fired a safety manager who flagged potential catastrophic failure. Why? Because big money deals were in motion. A rumored Netflix docuseries, a potential Versace x Dipset collab, and a private recording deal tied to the facility's contents. If anything leaked, if anything went wrong, millions would be lost. Then came the snowstorm. A historic blizzard hit New York, streets shut down, power lines froze, and on January 15th at 3:14 a.m. the freeze facility's main grid went dark. What happened next would unravel a two-decade friendship. The internal temperature dropped to 23 degrees F within hours. Emergency generators failed, products froze, merchandise cracked, servers holding unreleased music files were damaged. And worse, Camron's private collection of vintage Dipset memorabilia stored in Vault C, destroyed, his pink fur coat, shriveled, handwritten lyric books, soaked and stiff. A signed Rockefeller contract from 2003, gone. And Mase, he had stored over 20 unreleased sermons, written tracks, and business archives in that same section. All wiped out. You'd think Jim would have called them. You'd think he would have owned up to the failure. But according to a source close to Cam, Jim ghosted them for 2 days. 2 days, Mase thought he was dead. Cam thought he was ducking responsibility. Turns out he was trying to lawyer up. That's when the gloves came off. Camron allegedly showed up unannounced at the facility 2 nights later, banging on the loading dock doors, demanding entry. Security tried to de-escalate, but Cam wasn't having it. "Where my vault at? You said it was climate locked. Where's my jacket, bro? You know how much that meant to me." Staff said he was screaming, pacing, wild-eyed, and Jim, he finally emerged. They didn't hug, they didn't speak softly, they yelled loud. And someone filmed it. A grainy video hit Reddit 12 hours later. Movie camera Cam in a ski mask shouting, "You violated the code, bro. Not just the contract, the code." Movie camera Jim screaming back, "You think I wanted this to happen? You think this is my fault? The city cut power." Movie camera Cam pointing at the melted vault door. "This ain't the city, this YOU, you built this on lies." And standing in the background, Mase, silent, stone-faced, holding a folder. He didn't yell, he didn't react. He was there to drop receipts. Because what Mase had in that folder would expose exactly who ignored the warnings. The moment Mase stepped out of that black SUV, Harlem felt it. He didn't speak to reporters. He didn't make eye contact with fans waiting outside the facility. He clutched a slim, black folder to his chest like it contained a confession from God himself. And in a way, it did. Inside that folder were documents, emails, and most damning of all, a voicemail that would rip the lid off the freeze facility scandal and turn it from a business disaster into a criminal investigation waiting to happen. Let's rewind just a few hours. Camron had already blown up on Jim Jones in front of staff, vendors, and a few unlucky interns who now probably need therapy. The shouting match was intense, heated words about betrayal, cover-ups, and broken brotherhoods. But Mase, he didn't yell, he waited, because Mase was moving with precision. According to insiders, the folder he brought that day had been compiled over weeks, long before the actual power failure. Mase had been growing suspicious after a string of odd encounters with Jim's team. Missed invoices, refused audit requests, a warehouse employee who told Mase to back up his files somewhere else just in case. And now he had proof. The first document was an email chain dated 6 weeks before the meltdown, between the freeze facility's contracted electrician and Jim's general manager. In the email, the electrician warned, "Without proper grounding of the secondary generator, you risk a total failure under extreme cold. The current system is not sufficient." The manager's reply, "Noted. We'll revisit after the Versace shipment clears customs." Translation, money over safety. Attached to that same email chain was a canceled maintenance request for December 27th. The reason? Too close to New Year's Eve party. Optics matter, push to cone. Let that sink in. They canceled a critical electrical systems inspection because they didn't want the place looking bad for an influencer event. But that wasn't even the most damning piece. Mase looked around that day, dead at Jim Jones, and asked, "You want to tell him, or should I?" Jim stayed silent, arms crossed, sweat visibly forming under his custom Moncler. So Mase pulled out his phone, hit play, and the room went cold. It was a voicemail from a woman named Tasha, later identified as a former assistant facilities manager who mysteriously quit 2 weeks before the storm. Her voice shook on the recording. "I can't keep this in anymore. The breakers corroded. I told them. I told Jim directly," he said, and I quote, "It's Harlem, we'll thug it out." That's not okay. If someone gets hurt or stuff gets destroyed, it's on him. I'm not covering it up, I'm done. The room was dead silent. You could hear a pen drop. And Cam, he turned slowly to Jim and said, "Tell me you didn't say that." Jim didn't answer. He just turned around and walked off. That's when everything detonated. Within minutes, the voicemail hit every major blog in the city. Complex, Hip Hop DX, TMZ. Even the New York Post ran a digital headline by noon, DIPSET disaster. Jim Jones ignored warnings before facility meltdown. Voicemail reveals. Social media lit up like Christmas in July. Fire Jim Jones, gonna freeze his legacy just like his facility. Fire Mase, dropped receipts like communion bread. Fire Camron's pink coat, died for this. RIP Dipset Vault. Memes were flying, but the situation wasn't a joke. Because now, it wasn't just about friendships, it was about lawsuits. Mase's team filed a formal letter of intent to sue for negligence and damages within 24 hours. The documents demanded a full inventory of lost assets, third-party inspection records, and access to all internal communications during the outage window. And Cam, he wasn't just angry, he was personally humiliated. According to his reps, that pink fur wasn't just iconic. It was insured, archived, and listed as an asset in a limited liability trust tied to his daughter's college fund. Translation: Jim's negligence just messed with Camron's family, and Cam wasn't about to let that slide. The next day, he released a scathing Instagram video that sent the internet into a frenzy. "I held my tongue for too long. I let my love for Harlem blind me to what this dude been on. But now, the veil off. We trusted you, Jim. I trusted you with my legacy, and you turned around and let clout cook it in a freezer from hell." He paused, looked directly at the camera. "You froze my coat, bro, but you ain't freezing the truth." The comment section exploded. Fire LMAO, not the coat. Fire Camron turned heartbreak into bars again. Fire bro finna drop a diss track titled Thermostat, I'm crying. But beneath the jokes, one thing was clear. Cam and Mase weren't just hurt, they were activated. And that's when the first DIPSET split declaration went public. A statement posted to Camron's official site and shared by Mase read, "Effective immediately, we are terminating all business affiliations with the Freeze facility, any subsidiaries managed by Jim Jones, and any Dipset-branded operations tied to said ventures." This was more than an accident. This was betrayal by negligence. And the last line, "If you value your legacy, Harlem, don't store it in the cold." Fire, 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 but just when Jim Jones looked finished, just when his name was trending with number freezer fraud and number Jim meltdown, he struck back. In a leaked Zoom call obtained by the Shade Room, Jim is seen defending himself to his legal team and one unidentified investor. What he said shocked everyone. "Y'all really think I didn't know what Mase was doing? He been plotting. That inspection that got canceled. Guess who flagged it for review? Mase. He been trying to tank me." Wait, what? Was Jim saying Mase sabotaged the facility to trap him? The investor pressed further. Jim nodded slowly and added, "He never wanted the facility to win, because he knew if it popped, he'd be the odd man out. This was about ego, and now, he leaking voicemails like a blog beach, I got dirt too." The camera cut off, but the damage was already done. Because now the public had a whole new theory. Was this facility meltdown a freak accident? Or was it a power move years in the making? Had Mase pulled the strings? Was Cam unknowingly weaponized? Was Jim a negligent mogul, or the target of a calculated takedown? And more importantly, what dirt was he sitting on? Because insiders now say Jim is threatening to expose old contracts, unreleased recordings, and even shady business records from the early Dipset days. Stuff that could destroy both Mase and Cam's reputation. And one source close to Jim says he has video footage from inside Vault C before the collapse, footage that shows something no one wants the public to see. What's on it? No one knows. But Jim's camp says if Mase files a lawsuit, if Cam keeps going live, they're dropping it. The next chapter, revenge, exposure, collateral damage. For a moment, Harlem went silent. Everyone held their breath, waiting to see if Jim Jones would really do it. If he'd actually follow through on his threat and leak the Vault C footage. The mysterious, shadowy video said to contain something so explosive it could collapse Dipset from the inside out. And then he did. On a cold Thursday night at 2:17 a.m., a private Vimeo link was posted, briefly, on Jim's backup Instagram account captioned, "You wanna play cold? Let's turn up the heat." The link stayed live for 23 minutes, but that was enough. The internet devoured it. Within an hour, bootlegs were everywhere, Reddit, X, private Discord servers, even encrypted Dropbox links getting passed around like forbidden fruit. And the footage, devastating. It starts with shaky night vision surveillance inside Vault C just days before the infamous power failure. There's a crew of 4 people inside, faces mostly obscured by masks and hoodies. They're laughing, talking, handling inventory, but one voice stands out, clear, unmistakable, Mase. "Yo, this the one, this jacket's gonna go in the Smithsonian, watch, Cam don't even know it's in here." That alone didn't seem scandalous. Until someone else speaks, voice digitally enhanced but still traceable. "Camron, it better be, you know Jim's gonna act like he paid for this whole spot when ST blows up." And Mase, he laughs, then leans in and says something that changed everything. "Ain't nobody need to know we already moved the masters." Pause, rewind, reread that. "Ain't nobody need to know we already moved the masters." According to tech experts who examined the video, that statement, combined with footage of the crew moving external hard drives, suggests that Mase and Cam had secretly removed valuable recordings from the vault before the power grid failure. Days before, in other words, they knew the facility might crash. They knew Jim was playing with fire, and instead of fixing it or warning anyone, they moved their stuff, stayed silent, and let the storm hit. Twitter, no X, exploded. "Fire, yo, did Mase and Cam set Jim up? Fire, this some Game of Thrones level betrayal. Fire, Harlem ice heist sounds like a Netflix doc already." In less than 12 hours, the hashtag #VaultGate was trending #1 in New York. By morning, it was national. But wait, it gets even wilder. Because right as fans were trying to figure out whether Cam and Mase were calculated geniuses or cold-hearted villains, a new voice emerged. Jules Santana. Yes, the long silent prince of Dipset. The missing member. The one who always floated in and out of the drama, never choosing a side. Until now. Jules took to Instagram Live from his Miami home, eyes red, voice hoarse, emotion palpable. He started slow. "This ain't what we built. This ain't Dipset. This some Game of Thrones SHT." Then he dropped the bomb. "I ain't even gone, hold you. I knew Jim's facility had issues. I told him months ago. But I also saw Cam and Mase acting real strategic. They was too ready. Moving SHT in the middle of the night, acting like they was saving the culture, but really," he paused. "They was waiting for this moment." The comments section blew up. "Fire, Jules knows where the bodies are buried." "Fire, he Loki just admitted they knew it would fail." "Fire, Dipset dead." "Harlem needs therapy." But Jules wasn't done. He continued. "I don't trust none of them, but the people gotta know this, Cam and Mase. They moving like chess players, not brothers, Jim. He wanted to be Hav, but forgot loyalty ain't just a brand. And me, I'm staying out the fire cause I ain't trying to get cooked with the rest of them." Then he dropped a teaser. "But if y'all really want to know how deep this goes, wait until I drop my doc. I kept everything." Wait, what? A Jules Santana doc? Insiders say Jules has been sitting on over a decade of private footage, studio clips, behind-the-scenes convos, and contracts that never saw the light of day. And now he's threatening to drop it all. Dipset, the fall of the empire, coming soon. But let's zoom back in. Because Jim Jones, he's not done. After leaking the Vault C footage, he drops an official statement through his attorney confirming he will be pursuing legal action against both Mase and Camron, citing premeditated sabotage, theft of property, and defamation. The statement reads, "My client's facility was compromised, not by weather but by internal actors who knowingly removed assets, ignored warnings, and are now profiting off the fallout. We have filed injunctions and will pursue damages accordingly." But Mace's attorney fires back, within minutes. "My client acted only to protect his property after months of ignored safety concerns. If Mr. Jones is embarrassed by his own negligence, he should seek legal counsel, not revenge." And then boom, another anonymous leak. This time, a Dropbox folder titled Cold Cuts. Inside, photos of melted server racks, damaged jackets, ruined lyric books, and a spreadsheet labeled Dipset Shared Assets Agreement 2015. The agreement lists names, ownership shares, storage details, and yes, the original masters and memorabilia in Vault C. Co-owned by all 3, which means if Jim neglected the facility, he wasn't just messing with Cam and Mace's stuff. He was endangering everyone's legacy. But it's too late for peace, because Harlem has already picked sides. Barbershop debates, Podcast wars, DJs threatening to blacklist Dipset tracks until the truth gets aired. And fans, torn. Some say Jim was reckless and deserved what he got. Others argue Cam and Mase pulled a silent coup and used friendship as bait. And a growing group is rallying behind Jules, calling him the last real one and begging for his documentary. But just when the war seemed set in stone, just when it felt like Harlem was divided forever, a new challenger enters. Out of nowhere, on her verified IG, Freaky Zeki's daughter, Liana, posts a video from what appears to be an old Dipset storage unit. Untouched, covered in dust, but still intact. She pans the camera and says, "While y'all fight over who froze what, I've got the real archives, contracts, tapes, secrets they never wanted out." She ends with one line, "It's time the Dipset daughters tell the real story." Boom. Now we're talking second-generation legacy wars. Could there be a new wave of Dipset insiders about to pull back the curtain? What else was hidden in those vaults? And if Liana really has the real archives, what's inside? Because one thing's clear, the fire is no longer just between three men. This is a Harlem-wide war, a clash of generations, and a power grab for who gets to own the story of Dipset's rise, and now its epic fall. The fallout from the Vault C video was nuclear, and not just in Harlem. The ripple effect slammed into every corner of hip-hop, fashion, and influencer media like a tidal wave of betrayal and broken legacy. Within hours of the footage dropping, Dipset's name was blacklisted across several DJ sets in New York. From clubs in Brooklyn to lounges in the Bronx, DJs refused to play any Jim Jones, Camron, or Mase tracks, not out of hate, but out of pure disbelief. "Until these dudes stop using Harlem as a battlefield, they don't get the aux," tweeted DJ Self, a longtime supporter of the group. And it wasn't just DJs pulling out. Hot 97 canceled a planned Dipset Appreciation Night, event slated for February. Revolt TV postponed an upcoming Camron, and Mase interview on it is what it is. And several high-end brands rumored to be partnering with Jim's Freeze facility for collabs ghosted him. Gone, vanished, radio silent. But what really rocked the culture to its core was the reaction from the fans. 1 minute social media was praying for Dipset's legacy. The next, it was an all-out war in the comments section. Collision Team Mase. He warned them, y'all want him to burn with the building he told them was collapsing? Please. Collision Team Jim. This man been holding Harlem down for years and y'all think he'd crash his own vault. Wake up. Collision Team Cam. He trusted his boys, that vault held his story. Y'all think he'd stand there if he knew it would fry? Collision Team Jules. Jules might be the only one telling the truth out here. He never picked a side, he told it like it is. But then, the celebs started speaking out. Fat Joe on his Instagram Live. "I've never seen Harlem eat its own like this. These are legends, man. I'm sick over it. Somebody gotta step up and squash this before it turns into something we can't undo." Joe Budden on the Joe Budden podcast. The Freeze facility was a flex play that went left. But what we're witnessing now is the implosion of trust, and these dudes ain't built for cleanup. Mase moves like he's writing a book. Jim moves like he's dodging one. Cam's a general who forgot to look behind him. And then came the voice no one expected, Jay-Z's team. In a move that made the entire industry freeze, Rock Nation posted a cryptic message on X. "Legacy is built in silence. Some of y'all too loud to last." No names, no hashtags, but everyone knew exactly who it was aimed at. Because Dipset's legacy had always been flashy, flamboyant, and loud. And now, it was crashing in Technicolor slow motion. Even fashion got caught in the fire. Kith, who'd once featured Dipset in a viral campaign, archived every single Dipset-linked photo from their social media overnight. Supreme, rumored to have a retro Dipset collection in the pipeline, canceled it. Word is, they didn't want to be associated with a cultural implosion. Meanwhile, fashion insiders began whispering that Cam's melted pink coat was now more valuable than ever. "It's the Mona Lisa of Harlem," one collector posted in a now-viral tweet. "Tragic, iconic, historical. I'll pay $50,000 if it still has the scent of betrayal." Fire, 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 but amidst the madness, one tiny glimmer of reconciliation emerged. A private source leaked that Mase had reached out to Cam, privately, without lawyers, without managers, just two old friends. He reportedly sent a text that read, "We lost the vault, but we can't lose the vision. I don't trust Jim, but I trust our foundation. Don't let this be our legacy." No response from Cam, yet, but fans ran with it. Posts went up instantly. Dove number save Dipset, Dove number rebuild the vault, Dove number one last project. Someone even photoshopped a fake album cover of the three of them standing in front of the charred freeze facility ruins, titled From the Ashes, and it racked up 2.4 million likes in 12 hours. The people want a reunion, but not everyone is ready to forgive. Jim Jones, he's been dead silent since leaking the footage. Insiders say he's building his case quietly, gathering counter-evidence, preparing to release his own legacy files drop. A full exposé on everything he held back. A reporter from Vulture even hinted at having access to Jim's unreleased vault contracts, which could implicate multiple brands and past Dipset collaborators in financial wrongdoing. Oh, and if you thought Jules was going to sit this part out, think again. He just announced an emergency livestream called The Harlem Tapes, Part 1, set to air at midnight this Friday. Tagline: "You saw the vault. Now hear what was locked inside it." Eyes, 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 and if that's not enough, Freaky Zeki's daughter, Liana, just teased a podcast series titled Daughters of Diplomacy with a blood-chilling tagline. The men told their story. Now it's our turn. What does she know? What does she have? And will the next generation of Dipset insiders rise up with their own agenda? Because as fans, media, celebrities, and entire cities take sides, one thing is devastatingly clear. This isn't just drama anymore. This is a legacy war, one that's left Harlem frozen. And Dipset shattered, just when the world thought it had seen it all, the ruined memorabilia. The exposed sabotage, the generational fallout. The legal threats from every direction, one final revelation sent shockwaves so deep through Harlem, the foundations of the Dipset legacy itself began to crack. It started as a rumor, a post on a niche forum, a comment on a throwaway burner account, whispers about a second facility. But this wasn't just internet noise, because by dawn, verified sources confirmed there was another vault, not in Harlem, not even in New York, but in Paterson, New Jersey, an abandoned warehouse listed under a shell company tied to a name the industry hadn't spoken in years, Big Joe Gervasi. The name alone made old Dipset fans sit up straight. Joe Gervasi, Camron's former silent investor, the ghost in the machine, the man behind some of Dipset's earliest financial moves, the one who disappeared from the game after a fallout no one ever explained. Now, his name was back, and it was tied to a hidden archive no one wanted the public to see. A group of underground hip-hop documentarians, known as Tape Lords, somehow got inside the Paterson facility and began posting what they found. Photos, scans, metadata logs, old Dipset hard drives, and one video, a dusty VHS tape labeled 2002 Funeral Files Private. They digitized it, and what played shattered everything. The grainy footage opens on a funeral, a private one. There's a black limo, velvet suits, Dipset chains tucked beneath buttoned-up trench coats, and then the camera pans stack bundles, alive, smiling, talking to Camron and Jim. Wait, what? Stack Bundles, beloved Dipset affiliate, tragically murdered in 2007. This footage, never before seen, likely filmed at an internal Dipset memorial for a different lost crew member. But then comes the audio. In it, Stack is recorded saying to Cam, "If you keep locking the real ones out while making vaults for your secrets, it's gonna eat you from the inside." Cam nods, looks at the camera, and says, "We all got secrets, but only some of us know how to bury 'em deep enough." Boom. That one clip reignited everything. Fans began asking questions. What secrets were in Vault 2? Why was Stack Bundles warning them back then? And more importantly, what had Dipset been hiding this whole time? But that wasn't even the wildest part. The Tape Lords dropped a backup ledger they discovered, hidden beneath insulation panels, listing private payments from Camron and Mase to this Paterson storage unit, dating back over a decade. Which means Mase and Cam had been hiding a secondary archive, outside of Jim's facility the entire time. And that vault might contain unreleased music, contracts, and personal journals. And there, in the final corner of the document, a section marked, Dipset Exit Protocols if Empire Falls, no explanation. No contents listed, just a date, 2026. This year, so now the questions aren't just about the past, they're about the present. Right did Cam and Mase plan this unraveling years ago? Right was the freeze facility meltdown only one part of a deeper strategy? Right, and was Jim Jones the real target all along? Oh, and it gets darker. Because buried in the last few pages of the second vault's inventory list was a sealed letter. Scanned, addressed to Camron, dated July 2006. The signature, Big L Harlem's fallen son, the original king. Gone too soon but never forgotten. And in that letter, just 3 lines. They gonna try to own our voices. You gotta own the silence first. Don't let the wrong ones hold the keys. Fans broke down, some cried, others screamed conspiracy. Because now this wasn't just about frozen furs or ruined tracks. This was about ownership, power, legacy, and who controls the story when the empire burns down. Camron has not commented. Mase is silent. Jim has locked down his socials, but whispers say a private meeting is being arranged. Off-grid, no phones, just the three of them. One final chance to settle this behind the scenes. But will it work, or will someone go nuclear? Because the clock is ticking. Jules is teasing part 2 of the Harlem tapes. Freaky Zeki's daughter has promised, footage y'all were never meant to see. And rumor has it Rock Nation is quietly preparing a massive Harlem legacy project, and they're choosing sides now. So we ask you, Brain, do you think Cam and Mase planned this whole unraveling? Was Jim reckless, or set up from day one? Video cassette, and what do you think is inside that exit protocol folder? Because Dipset isn't just beefing anymore, they're splintering into factions. And the next leak might be the one that burns it all down. So now the smoke's still rising, the vault is blown wide open, and Harlem's holy trinity. Split, frozen, fractured. Mase, Camron, and Jim Jones, once the architects of an era, are now at war over legacy, loyalty, and lies buried so deep they've started to decay from the inside out. But here's the truth, and you better believe it, this story ain't over. This drama ain't cooling down, and the final move, it might be made by you. Because Dipset might have built their empire in the studio and the streets, but now, the internet holds the crown. So let's make this loud and clear. Megaphone, do you believe Mase and Cam knew about the facility's failure in advance? Megaphone, is Jim Jones a visionary or a victim of sabotage? Megaphone, was the second vault the real Dipset archive all along? And the big one, Megaphone, who's the real traitor in this war? Collision, drop a comment. Call them out by name. Collision, pick your side. Number Team Mase, number Team Cam, number Team Jim, or number Team Dipset. Truth Collision, like if you think Harlem deserves the truth. Collision, share if you believe the diplomats aren't done yet. Let's take this conversation to the next level. Flood the comments, flood the culture, because you are now part of the Dipset legacy, and trust me, we're already working on the next episode. Fire Jules Santana's Harlem Tapes Part 2 is coming. Fire Liana Zeki's Daughters of Diplomacy podcast is locked and loaded. Fire and that mysterious exit protocol folder? Yeah, we've got our hands on it. So subscribe if you want the exclusive. Hit that bell because the next leak could drop any second. And get ready, because as Harlem freezes, the truth is finally thawing out. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep your coats close and your receipts closer.